And welcome. Glad that you are here. Here's the PIN number on the top right. Go ahead and sign in via Kahoot. And we'll start here in about 4.5 minutes. If you are new to this weekly adventure that we call the CCNA quiz, welcome aboard. My name's Keith Barker. It's great to have you here. About half of us have already gotten our CCNAs and are working on other technologies. And this is a fantastic way to keep ourselves grounded and reminded of the fundamentals, because those fundamentals are very important as skills in the world of IT that we work in today. All right, welcome again. Glad you're here. Thank you, Blendinator. I always appreciate your support. And everyone who's here, glad to have you. We'll start here in about 60 seconds. Alessandra, welcome. Glad you're here. Also, as a heads up, let me show you this real quick. I've got this topology sitting and waiting, and a lot of the quiz today is based on this topology and what we covered yesterday in the office hour. So if we're new to meeting each other, please set a schedule every Saturday, Pacific time, 10 a.m. Join me on Discord for the free office hour where we have a topic and take open questions. Also, right after this quiz today, to take the best advantage we can of our time, I will be in the Discord server in the CCNA voice chat room for about 15 minutes right after today's quiz, in case you want to go over any questions or have elaboration regarding anything OSPF related or what you're studying. So if you have a few extra moments, you can hang around. We can chat right afterwards on the Discord server. There's a link in the video description for an invite to Discord. All right, I'm looking at my clock. It is time to start. If somebody pops in late, just remind me, if you could, that the actual participation and the PIN number it's going to be at the bottom in a few moments, and they can join midstream if they want. It's all good. All right, my friends, here we go. Again, if you're new to this quiz, my name is Keith Barker. So glad to have you here. I'm a double CCIE and learning stuff all the time, even though I've had a CCIE for, I think, close to 20 years. All right, here's question 1. OSPF default information originate has just been added to this router. As a result, what happens? Okay, so I got a few on the default routers now advertised. Let's just peek at this for a moment and let's confirm our understanding. So this command right here, default information originate, says to a router, let's go ahead and say this is the router, R1. Dear Mr. Router, if you have a default route, that's a big if you have a default route, then advertise in OSPF that there's a default route available via you. But if you don't have a default route, says this command all by itself, don't bother advertising a default route. And that's why the default route is not yet being advertised, because this router doesn't have its own default route. You can't advertise what you don't have unless you use the keyword always. And in Packet Tracer, they don't include that option, but on OSPF speaking routers with Cisco, that's a command option that you have that says, hey, default information originate always. If you have that keyword, R1 will just say, okay, I'll just advertise the default route no matter what. So if a default route is added based on this command, it would then be advertised via OSPF. All right, that is question 1. These are all pretty short as far as the actual length of these questions. So here is question number 2. It's multiple select. What has to match for fully adjacent and successful OSPF neighbors? There's 3 correct answers on the board. Look for the one that's not right and avoid that one. Nicely done. So for those, that's just amazing. I've got a video out there where I talk about a way to help remember all those things, because there's a lot of details here. So the acronym I came up with is TAN, like somebody who's been out in the sun, or somebody has a skin shade that's tan, and their name is Matt, spelled with 1 T. I know a couple people who spell it like that. Anyway, Tan Matt reminds me of the 6 things that have to match, and if I just spell those out, I'm going to do the exercise myself right now. Timers and the network has to match, like they all have to be the same network. A is for maybe authentication, has to match. This A is for area. Hold on a second. Here we go. Area. The M is for MTU, and the T is for network type, like an OSPF type, point-to-point, or multi-point, or broadcast, etc. So that's just a real quick way just to get our brains going and remind ourselves of what isn't working. So if I was troubleshooting an OSPF adjacency, I would be looking at all these values and see what doesn't match up, causing the problem. All right, let's take a look at, see who's on the top of the heap so far. And that is Excited Horse. Me too. All right, here we go. Question 3. What is the default administrative distance of open shortest path first? Excellent work. Why, can somebody chat in for me? Why is administrative distance important? When are we ever going to use that? So if you have a moment and you want to chat in, why do we need administrative distance, or why does it matter? Go ahead and chat that in. That'd be great. And I'll give you a few moments if you want to do that right now. And then we'll take a look at the next question. While you're thinking about that, let's take a look at the top here. Oh, Excited Horse, Not Letting Go, Elated Possum, Focused Ant, Lucky Sea Lion, and Amiable Dragon. Nice, 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 nice. So I'm waiting for an answer too, but I have there's like a 8 or 9 second delay. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So administrative distance is important if a router has 2 different sources that are advertising that same route. For example, OSPF and RIP, or OSPF and ISIS, or OSPF and internal BGP, or etc. So if there's 2 sources, different sources that are advertising the same exact route, the same exact 24-bit or 25-bit or 26-bit route, the one with the lowest golf score is going to win. And that's how administrative distance works. It's like a golf score. The lower, the better. So RIP has 120, OSPF has 110, and that's why it matters to see which one of those routing sources for a given network makes it into the routing table. And then, of course, once it's in the routing table, all bets are off. Then it's all about longest match. After enabling OSPF on this router, what is going to be the router ID? Let's look at that and let's talk about that together. This question is really, how is a router ID selected? And then I have every possible, or most of the options up here. And here is the definitive answer to how a router like R9, when OSPF is brought up, how does it decide on its router ID? I'll put RID for short there. It decides on that based on a configured router ID. That's the first thing it does. So if we went into router configuration mode and we said router-ID, like 5678 or whatever, that would be the one, the next time that this OSPF process is cleared, or the next time this thing starts, it would use that one, the configured router ID, number 1. Number 2 would be the highest IP, numerically, the highest IP address on a loopback interface. So here, I've got loopback 0, loopback 1. Oh, you didn't do that, Keith, did you? You didn't take loopback 0 and give it a higher IP address and then take loopback 1 and give it a lower IP address, did you? Yes, I did. Because I wanted to drive home that of all the loopbacks, it's going to choose the one with the highest IP address as the router ID. So it's not the actual loopback number going for the highest. It's actually going for the actual IP address on any loopback where the IP address is the highest. And then if there are no loopbacks at all, the third is any interfaces that are up, all the remaining interfaces that are not loopback interfaces, the highest IP. And we'll just say generic interface. It could be a switched virtual interface on a multi-layer switch, could be a physical interface on a router, what have you. But that's it. And so when this guy booted up, there was no router ID configured, so that's off the table. And as far as the highest IP address on a loopback, that's why 11.11.11.11 is the correct answer. A little sneaky, but probably you're never going to forget that. All right. 47 of you nailed it. 25 went for 9999. 8 of you did something else. And 1 just took a wild stab at it. All right, here we go. Question 5 of 13. Glad that you're all here. I'm having a good time. Thanks for joining me. Which of the following best describes the open shortest path first? Nailed it. Classless link state routing protocol. Fantastic. Here's question 6 of 13. What is the priority order for selecting a router ID in OSPF? These are randomized order-wise. I apologize. I just explained this, but you've got less than 20 seconds. Good luck. So I've got a question for these 12 people and these 6 people and these 1 people. I guess the statement would be, hey, welcome. Maybe you joined late. That's fantastic. I'm just playing with all of you. We are in a learning mode, all of us. We are learning new things. Yesterday, in office hour, I had one of the participants, I don't remember whose name it was, but they told me, and for my entire life, for like 20 years, I've always done no IP domain lookup so that when I typed a missed command, it wouldn't go searching for trying to do name resolution. And I was talked about a command I could do on the console and on the VTY lines that would correct that. In fact, let me just show you. It's amazing. And this is after 20 years. So if I can learn something after 20 years, then I learn something almost every single office hour and time I put quizzes together. It's this command. Right here we go. There, right here. Transport preferred none. If you do that, you can leave DNS lookups enabled, and you can have a mistyped command, and it won't try to automatically resolve that to an IP address and hang you up for like 30 seconds or a minute. So I was shocked. I'm like, what? Where's this command been my whole life? But the key is just keep learning and growing, and there's always something new to learn. Glad that you're here. Here is question number 7. It goes something like this. It's looking for at least 2 answers, maybe more. Based on the output, which IP interfaces are included in the OSPF routing process? And while you think about that, I'm going to make a few notes over here. Don't let that distract you. All right, let me put that media back up and let's take a look at it real quick. I'm not going to go through the whole explanation here, but I just want to give you a clue on how I resolve this, and I think I can still see that background, so I'll keep that. So in this output here, it's 172.18.16 with this wildcard mask, which says I don't care what the last three places. That also implies that the block size we're looking at is a block size of 8. So if this network is 172.18.16, which is right here, and the block size is 8, that means the next subnet is 24. That means the range here would be 16.1 through 23.254. And so, so effectively, what we're doing is we're looking for anything in that range, and those would be the correct answers. So let's see here. That falls in that range. And so does that one. And for the third octet, that's 25 is too high. And for this one, 14 is too low. So that's basically, this is really a function of subnetting and IP addressing and understanding how the wildcard masks work. And that's why learning access control lists and the wildcard masks and also subnetting are super important. I probably am beating a drum here that you've heard before, but there's a playlist on YouTube that I created called Subnet Saturdays. And it's not restrictive. You don't have to watch it just on Saturdays, but I took like 11 or 12 Saturdays in a row, and I just made the tutorial on subnetting that I wish somebody had given me about 25 years ago when I first got into the world of IT with IP networking. When I first started, IP wasn't a popular thing for the common computer. Back in those days, it was IPX and mainframe integration. But Subnet Saturdays is where you can go if you want to master IP subnetting. That's the place to go, and it's free. Also, I've heard people say, "Oh, I can just look at it and figure it out." It's like I have never. Well, I can shortcut stuff because I understand how it works, but understanding the basics and being able to calculate it correctly every single time is something that you need for not just your certifications. It'll help a lot, but also for the real world. When you're working on something and you're trying to figure out why isn't it working or why isn't it connecting, doing the quick calculations to figure out what subnetted device is on is very, very helpful. Okay, here we go. Question number 8 of 13. What is the default OSPF hello interval on an Ethernet network? Is it 10 seconds? And this is one of those benefits of using labbing it up, and packet trace would be great. You just basically enable OSPF on an interface. For example, let's take R2 gig 00 there. And config T, router, OSPF1, network. I'm just going to say bring everything in because that's how I'm going to roll. What area do you want those networks in? So that statement, what it says is take any interfaces regardless of IPv4 address, and those directly connected networks are now part of OSPF. So if we take a look at show IP OSPF interface for just everything, and here's gig 00, it says it's up, and it has all the details. The network type is broadcast, which is the default for an Ethernet interface, that's a question coming up, by the way. There is, why is my cost 10? That's another discussion. All right. It's currently a DR other. Why is that? All right. Lots of great options here. But the piece I wanted to show here was hello interval of 10, which is the default. And then as far as the other values there, maybe I already have something configured. Oh, yeah, I must do. These guys must all be running OSPF, because what happens is one of these devices on this same subnet, let's call it, what is it, network? 172.29.14 with a 26-bit mask. One device on that common network segment will be the doctor, the designated router. Doctor is just a joke way of saying that. And then we'll have one backup designated router. And then all the others will be our, I'd rather not do it. I'd rather not do it. And they are DR others. And so when we looked at this router right here, OSPF was already enabled on it. I didn't realize that when I enabled it, but it is currently acting as a DR other. and that is shown right here somewhere. Hold on, don't tell me. There we go. Yeah, DR other. And it's also saying that the designated router is R5 based on that last octet, and the backup designated router is R4 based on that octet. All right, here we go. I'll move that out of the way. And that's why labbing it up is super helpful to reinforce those concepts. Ooh, lucky sea lion, feeling lucky. Zany alpaca, bold wildcat, charming jaguar, and elated possum. It is anybody's race. I mean, these have changed over the last few questions. Here we go. Question 9, we're almost home. What does OSPF use at the transport layer? None of these. Wow. Did he really do that? He did. I did. So it's interesting. I think it's good just to be familiar with what protocols are used at which layers. So at layer 4, we're all familiar with a few of the classics. Oh, I'm not capturing anything here. I totally failed on that. I thought I was going to capture some traffic on gig. Let me capture some traffic right here while I talk. Capture gig 00. And let me say yes to that. And survey says, okay. This is a little terminal. This is a network emulator from EVNG, one that I happen to love. It's important to understand that at layer 4, there's the common favorites like, UDP and TCP, which are protocols. UDP is protocol number 17 in decimal, and it's TCP is protocol number 6 in decimal and hexadecimal. And then OSPF, there's a packet right there. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we just open that up. I'll expand this, make it a little bit bigger so I can see. And let's just take a look at the layer 3 header. So the layer 3 header points to the next packet. And oh, look at that. So I was looking at 88. 88. No, that's not it. That's EIGRP. There we go. So the actual protocol number for OSPF is literally protocol number 89. It has its own layer 4 protocol. And so in the IP header, which we're looking at here, go to view and take off packet bytes, gives us a little more real estate there. So in the layer 3 header, it says, hey, I'm carrying, at layer 4, I'm carrying protocol 89. And the next protocol at layer 4, well, in the layer 4 header, it pointed to OSPF, and there it is. And there's all the details. So if we took some other protocol, I may not have anything else I didn't send. So TCP, again, is using protocol number 6. UDP is protocol number 17 in decimal. ICMP is protocol number 1. How did it win? I'm number 1. I'm number 1. Good for you, ICMP. All right. So good job on avoiding 1, 6, and 17. It is protocol 89. All right, here we go. 10 of 13, almost home. It's a puzzle. Place the OSPF neighbor states in the correct order. All right, we got 44% of us got that right, and there is a video I've got out. I forget the name of it, but it's an OSPF related video. If you search my channel for OSPF, it's one that talks about the IT elf, and I kind of thought this is the IT elf that delivers cheer and joy and so forth, regardless of your faith-based background. An elf could just be a fun little fun person. So IT elf, it helps us remember the order, which is init, and then, what is T? What is T? Oh my gosh. ELF. Let me come back to, oh, two-way. All right. I was like, what? What's the T? ELF. And then the E is for Xstart and Exchange, and then the loading, L is for loading, and the F is for finally becoming fully adjacent. IT ELF So those acronyms are going to help. They help me. TANMAT, ITELF, and they're going to help you when you're working with these protocols and so forth. I was like, what the heck is T? I literally didn't recall that. I am getting a little older, but not that old. It's just early. I had a late night last night. I was up till like, I don't know, probably 1 a.m. my local time, working on some work and got carried away and just kept working. So I'm glad to be here now. I did get a pretty good night's sleep though. Although we're here for CCNA OSPF. And here's the next question. Question number 11. The command default information originate is on R1, but R1 is not advertising a default route into OSPF. Why? You know this answer. 20 seconds left on the clock. Good luck. Yep, R1 doesn't have a default route to offer, so you can say default information originate instead of router configuration for OSPF, and he'll say, okay, if I have one, I'll choose to advertise it. But if it doesn't have a default route itself, and it doesn't matter how it learned that default route. It could be a static default route. It could be a dynamically learned default route. It could be a default route learned via DHCP. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't have one, it won't advertise one with the default information originate command by itself unless you had the keyword always. All right, I think we have two more questions. Here we go. This is the penultimate question. Which OSPF network type is used between R1 and its neighbor based on this output? All right, let's take a look at this output. Dan, by the way, Dan is one of our amazing moderators on the Discord server, volunteering a ton of time, as they all are, and I appreciate everybody who volunteers time to help their brothers and sisters on the planet. In this output, we're using a serial interface. Now, I know if you're under 40, you may be thinking, a serial interface, what's that? Is it like a USB thing? What does that work? But in the old days, when we had to do wide area connectivity, a lot of times we use serial interfaces, like H. And the default encapsulation is HDLC. And that was the layer 2 framing, just like Ethernet has Ethernet frames at layer 2. With serial interfaces, the default encapsulation was HDLC, but you could use the planet's most popular protocol, or point-to-point protocol, at layer 2 instead. So that's what I did here. And either way, whether it's HDLC or PPP, we now have a point-to-point connection, and we also have an encapsulation of PPP. And on an interface, a serial interface with encapsulation of PPP, the default OSPF network type also is point-to-point. So I was trying to give that away in some hints, but the default OSPF network type for an Ethernet interface like Gig 00 or Gig 01, etc., or Fast Ethernet or even Ethernet is going to be broadcast. That's the OSPF network type. And on a serial link with encapsulation of point-to-point protocol, the default OSPF network type is going to be point-to-point, which means they are not expecting to have a DR, nope, or a BDR, nope, on that segment, and they'll just shoot updates to each other using the multicast address or addresses associated with OSPF. Actually, they could also do it unicast as well because there's only 2 people on that link, so it doesn't matter too much as far as the implementation. But by default, they will use multicast. All right. I think we have one more question. So I want to ask, how many people believe or feel like, based on the last question, that you could be in the top 5? If you think that's possible for you based on how you're doing, I would like you to shoot out or just chat in what your handle is for the game at the moment. Like, Wild Fish or Happy Giraffe or whatever that fun name is. So if you think you might be in the top 5 based on the next question, if you're in the running, go ahead and give me your handle. I would love to see it. Also, if you're brand new or you're still studying, that's what this is all for. You're among friends here. It's just a great way to build our knowledge, reinforce concepts, and get better and better and better. All right. I've got some optimistic and committed people. Here's the last question. And before I show it, it's very likely we've already talked about the concept coming up. Also, and these are randomized, but we've talked about almost everything, so I think we're good. Also, the faster you answer correctly, the more points you get. However, if you answer it incorrectly, fast or slow, it's not good for you as far as points. All right, here we go. Here's the final question. Question 13 of 13. R1's OSPF neighbor is about to advertise the 192.168.1 network with a 24-bit mask. What's going to happen? All right, let's talk about why that is. There's several things going on this specific page. Let's talk about what they are. First of all, we're being advertised, or we're about to have advertised to us, a 192.168.1 network with a 24-bit mask. So the question is, based on our current routing table, before it comes in, do we have that exact route in our routing table? Do we have a 24-bit route for 192.168.1? I don't see it. I see a 24-bit route, a directly connected route for 10.12.12. I see a directly connected route for 10.13.13, 24-bit mask. I see a 16-bit route for 192.168, which is a totally different network than this one. You could say that's a summary of this, but it's not the same. So there's no competition for it. So the AD on this route, it could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 4, it could be 100, it could be 110, which is OSPF's. It could be 120, which is RIP. It could be 115, which is ISIS. It could be internal BGP, which is terrible, of 200. It could be external BGP, which is 20. And so this is a static route with the next hop IP address. So those guys don't exist. So 110 is OSPF. 120 is RIP. ISIS. Let's see what else they and EIGRP is 90. And I would, it doesn't hurt to know those, because in this case, it doesn't matter effectively how this router is going to learn that route, because there's no competition for it. It doesn't have to make a decision. Ooh, do I want to get this from EIGRP or BGP? Because neither of those are advertising. It's just coming in. It's unique. So it wouldn't matter who advertised it, and it wouldn't matter effectively what AD it had, as long as it was something lower than 255, which 255 is all ones in binary for 8 bits. And that's bad news. Like, I believe 255 is like unreachable, if I recall correctly. Anyway, we don't have to worry about that for CCNA, but we should be aware of those default administrative distances for these dynamic routing protocols. Okay, I'm going to clear that off. And drum roll, please. And here is the winners table. Amiable Falcon, you did it. Congratulations, everybody. Would you like to see the hardest questions based on how we all answered? And let's go ahead and take a look. Here are the toughest questions, 3 of them, where this first one, only 22% got correct, and 30%, then 31%. That's okay. It's a learning opportunity. So I would take a peek at those, and if you are among the majority who did not get that right, just realize, I need to brush up a little bit on OSPF and get better and better. Also, I have a collection of more than 50. We've been doing this for over 2 years. Every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific, the live quiz. And we've been doing the office hour over a year, every Saturday at 10 a.m. over on Discord. And so there's a collection of quizzes. It's in a playlist called quizzes on my YouTube channel. So if you're, studying a certain topic and you think, I think I've got this down. I think I've got trunking down, or I think I've got IP subnetting down, or I think I'm really good for security or network automation, go check out the quiz on that topic and just give it a scrub. When I say scrub, just, play through it, pause at the question and think before looking at the answer, okay, what is the answer and why? And then look at the answer and compare your notes. All right, let's go ahead and let me also get some feedback from you. So if you could, through the app that you're using, whether it's the interface on a computer or the app directly from Kahoot, either way, if you give me some feedback, that'd be great. And as you do that on your mobile device or on your computer, if you're using that as well, let me go ahead and send you out with some amazing music and also my gratitude. And if you want to hang out and ask a few questions about OSPF or what you're studying in CCNA, it is almost 20 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm in the Pacific time zone, and I'm happy to spend at least 20 minutes, maybe more if there's a lot of questions, over on Discord. So if you look at the text under this video, under this live stream, there is a link for Discord. So if you want to join me there, I'd be happy to review any of these questions that we talked about or clarify or just hang out and say hello. It's all great. All right. Thank you very, very much. If we don't see you in the Discord server, I'll see you in the next event. Until then, be kind, do more than you're paid for, keep on studying, and it's worth it. And I'll catch you later.